Okay, I want to start by telling a story. Um, okay, so the story goes, when I was a little kid, we used to have these early release days um, during elementary school. I think it was Tuesdays. Tuesdays we got out at 12. And before I was old enough to be a turnkey kid, there was a period of time where my parents were sending me to the Boys and Girls Club. And so Tuesdays, I'd go to the Boys and Girls Club extra early at 12. And because it was early release, school lunch was not provided. You'd have to bring your own lunch. And my mom, from the good graces and love of her heart, would wake up a little bit earlier on those particular Tuesdays before work, and she would make me a fried egg sandwich. And she would, take the bread and the egg with the green onion. Green onion was I don't know if it's, I'll speak to just Chinese culture. Green onion and egg is like the dynamic duo, right? Like, that's like every Chinese person, I feel like, has an egg experience involving a bit of green onion in there. And so we had this green onion egg sandwich. She'd wrap it in tin foil, and I didn't have any sort of lunchbox or anything like that. She would just toss it in my backpack and send my ass off to school. And I'd be walking to school, and all throughout the day, whenever I had my backpack on, I'd be feeling this kind of warm egg sandwich in my bag. And being a little kid, like the size of like a slice of bread is, this big, let's say. But when you're a little kid and you are only this big, this sized bread is like half of your body's surface area, right? So it felt like you were wearing this giant not icy hot patch, but an icy hot patch during the hot phase on your entire back, like this warmth, right? And now throughout the day, because it wasn't in a lunchbox and it wasn't insulated at all, it'd get cold. It'd get colder and colder and colder. And so without fail, it seemed like by the time I got to the Boys and Girls Club, and I guess I've been thinking about this for a little bit, and to try to be whatever, you know how there's 3 laws of thermodynamics. I almost argued the 4th law of thermodynamics is a egg sandwich your mom makes you for lunch will always get cold by lunch. And so I get to the Boys and Girls Club, and everyone else is eating Lunchables or Gerber or whatever the fuck else people are eating, right? We didn't necessarily know about that stuff, or we didn't have it on us. I would just be eating the egg sandwich. And I have this particular memory, the tables at the Boys and Girls Club were these big round ones. I think they're made out of plywood, and it's either a blue or a gray. And maybe it's a gray surface, round table with that sort of plastic rubberish edge around the side. And I sit there alone. And this is not like a sob story or blaming nobody for sitting with me. No. That's just my memory of it, was this round table, me sitting alone, and then me looking at the TV that they hung in the corner, playing Tom and Jerry, and I'd eat this egg sandwich, watching Tom and Jerry. But the egg sandwich was always cold. So to this day, an egg sandwich, a green onion egg sandwich, particularly cold, and sometimes I will actually leave it out for a little bit so that it's more room temperature, I'll eat it that way because it reminds me of that particular memory. And in all honesty, the memory itself is a really good one, but I suppose is a sweet one. But I suppose the bitterness of the bittersweet comes from the fact that it was so long ago, it seemed like 6 lifetimes ago, And so that's why then that leads me to talk about and the topic of nostalgia and what the fuck it even is. And I don't know, right? I only kind of grapple with the feelings that I feel doing certain things and how it makes me not only think of things, but then also now being in the future and moving forwards, like how it actually gets me to do things, and I'll touch on that. So okay, so first of all, my question is, what the fuck is nostalgia? But then, sort of my theory or my idea of it, and this came from an argument or a conversation I had with a friend that I don't necessarily talk to much anymore. But we were talking about, well, I had asked, do you think, first of all, there's an evolutionary purpose that we have nostalgia? Just as much as we have our sense of smell, our sense of taste involving food, does nostalgia have a place sort of as this trait that kept those that had nostalgia alive, or the ability to produce offspring and be ancestors to us now, a bunch of nostalgic as people, right? And so my theory was to explore that. It was thinking like, maybe so much of love and lust and desire, and wanting to bang, and why you can argue, a lot of people would argue that whatever we do, anything that has been done and will be done was for the sake of getting that dick wet, okay? So then you can argue in that sort of lens that maybe the nostalgia is not so much that it's to get your dick wet, or it's not to continue on your offspring, your progeny, in the sense of like your genetic info. It would be like the transferring and progeny and passing on of your cultural or community info. And what I mean by that is like, the fact that I'm telling this story about the egg sandwich is that egg sandwich story now, hopefully, you hear it and makes you feel some type of way, or makes you understand who I am a bit more. And so not only, let's say, if I get lucky, fingers crossed, if I get lucky and I have myself a kid, that passes on like, the genetics, the code for this nasty ass fucking mustache and this gorgeous blonde hair. But then the nostalgia and my wanting to share these things, and it elevating something as simple as an egg sandwich to a level of importance to me that I feel the need to share it on the internet, or even share it with whoever, like my kid or like a friend or anything, is sort of this passing on of a tradition, or a passing on of a memory, or a passing on of a culture and a community's sort of experience, right? And that's what I thought nostalgia was for a long time. Is not that it's some vestigial trait that we've just been left with that has no purpose or meaning. I think completely opposite. I think anything that makes us feel this kind of power, or this impetus to do things and do positive things, is really useful. So then perhaps is the use of it that it's meant to pass on ideas, traditions, feelings, stories, whereas just having kids or banging or whatever would only pass on a mustache and a sexy ass bob. The nostalgia would pass on why, and yeah, I don't know. So yeah, I really kind of confused myself there a little bit at the end. But anyways, yeah, so that's just something to think about. Hopefully you think about. Talk to me about it. Let me know what you think. What does nostalgia mean to you? And also, I would love for you to share, if you'd be willing to take the time, to write me a little bit of an excerpt of a memory, a nostalgia-inducing food, or a food memory from old that you think about still. I would love to hear that. So anyways, thank you for watching. All the best.